just begin to settle into your space and to find a position to sit in that allows you to be comfortable and supported, but at the same time, a posture that allows you to remain awake in a relaxed way. Yeah. And sense the space in the room around you. Just feel the quality of the energy as we begin to open our hearts to connect with each other. See if you can sense the consciousness of the group beginning to fill the space in the room where you find yourself tonight. So as we're intentionally bringing a quality of consciousness to ourselves and to each other, it's important to remember that meditation isn't a sort of drifting off into another state of being, but it's coming as fully present to the circumstances, the environment, the condition of your body, condition of your mind, in the way that it is right in this moment. So we're not pushing away from ourselves in any way. We're actually becoming more fully rooted in this moment exactly as it is. So we're looking to ourself, the inner self, that is here in this form, in this way, in this time, as the source and the ground of being. Really knowing that it can be nowhere else. So not only is the ground of being within you as you are in this moment, it is you. And when we can fully awaken to that, it becomes the source of our security, our stability, our strength, source of our love, the source of an indestructible and eternal presence that is in life as you in this moment. So one of the ways of kind of checking in to make sure that we're fully here comes from an old parable, a Sufi story about a horse, a cart, and a driver. And I may have talked about this at other times, but the cart or the carriage represents our body. The horse represents our emotions and our passions. And the driver is represented by the, not the thinking mind, but the aspect of our mind that's connected with our inner guidance. And in the story, the driver's off in a bar getting drunk. The horse is running off in a field without its reins, just running around kind of freely. And the cart is been sitting in the rain in disrepair. And the teaching of the story is that the driver is meant to be present when the master arrives. So in order for us to notice when the true self is revealed to us, our mind needs to be awake and present. The story, they talk about it as being drunk, but it's really kind of like in our egoic state, we're asleep to ourselves. So we're asleep to the possibility of the arising of the master of true nature to our awareness. But we also need to have that mind connected to the carriage, the cart, and the cart needs to be in a state of reasonable repair so that our senses are available to us to notice when true nature is arising in us. And then the horse needs to be reined. Not in a restrictive or rejecting way, but it needs to be steady, needs to be connected to this moment, to the body, and present to the curiosity and awakeness of the mind. So how this translates in practical terms is as we're sitting here, just have a bit of your awareness touching the area of the third eye in the center of the forehead. A bit of awareness in the heart chakra in the center of the chest. And a bit of awareness in the belly. So that all three are present to you in this moment. Mind, body, and heart. And there's nothing to do with it. It's not to be manipulated. It's to be awake to these different aspects, these three centers of intelligence. When we have some awareness in each of these centers, there's a natural sort of uprightness in the core of our body. It's not a rigidness. It's a kind of alertness in all three centers. And you may notice as you have this bit of attention in the three centers, it's difficult to wander off. Because the body keeps the mind present. The heart keeps us in a state of intimacy with ourselves. That's right here, right now. So when I ask the question, who am I? I am this experience. I'm a presence experiencing itself in this way, in this moment. So take a few moments to just settle into this. And with these co-present awarenesses of these three centers, from this point of view, and you can also sense the space in front of you, the space behind you, to the left of you, to the right of you, above you, and below you. The living presence. And just be aware of the aliveness. That's taking place within a stillness. We had no concepts of who and what we take ourselves to be. We could experience ourselves as form arising out of space in this moment. True nature, giving birth to itself as you. And as we've talked about in other ways, we notice that this creative force that is birthing itself as us in this moment isn't pushing us around. It's not demanding that we be a certain way or not some other way. It's a presence within us, around us, that yields to the movement of our free will, never judging or evaluating. It allows us the opportunity to do that to ourselves, but it's not a quality or characteristic of our true nature. That there's a goodness, a benevolence. It's present right here in this moment, in the space that you find yourself arising in. And because it's such a subtle presence, subtly present to us. We often take it for granted. And yet it never leaves, even if our attention leaves. So as we maintain this bit of awareness in the head, the heart, and the belly, regardless of the position that our body is actually in, there's a kind of attentiveness that is reflective of devotion. Devotion to the mystery that is each of us and all of us. And as our nervous system begins to relax, to quiet, to slow down, we can sense this presence, this aliveness is part of everything that's around us. It's in a human form. It's part of and made of the elements of the earth on which we live. Without the generosity, the self-balancing, the life of Pachamama, our Mother Earth, we wouldn't have the opportunity to be here tonight. So we acknowledge the blessing, the grace through which this part of the cosmos that we share the grace and the gift that holds us, that sustains us. And we ask permission to enter into this work. As a way of more closely and deeply embodying the nature of life as it is here. Still sensing head, heart, and belly presence. We also acknowledge and greet the presences of our apus, the spirits of the land and the waters. That maintain the balance of the energy in the regions in which they exist. And as we look to these beautiful structures that are in the earth, that unwaveringly hold presence, then we can also feel in ourselves the possibility of holding a certain presence for the well-being of all. And we greet the presence of our ancestors. Through whose DNA our own inner consciousness and outer consciousness has come into the form that it's in now, in the way that we find ourselves. We feel those ancient connections, and we invite the essence of these beings to be with us as we are continuing the unfolding and transformation and awakening of humanity here in this living unfolding of the earth body and all of her inhabitants. We welcome and greet the presence of the masters in spirit, the light beings who oversee and support us from the heavenly dimensions. And in whatever traditions we may find the connection with the divine, we welcome those masters as well. So we recognize that we're not sitting alone in a room, but we're sitting in communion with all of these beings, taking our place, inviting a bit of humility as we remember that we don't stand alone, but that we're part of a bigger being. Each aspect of which exists as a perfection in the wholeness of being, each having its own value by virtue of the fact that we're here, not above, not below, emanating from the one heart. And so we feel the preciousness of our existence. The gift of self-reflection that allows us to be present to and as true nature, to be in the experience of it to be the suchness of it, and to be what's reflecting on the experience of true nature, being, experiencing, and witnessing itself. And if you've drifted off, just bring your awareness back to the head, the heart, and the belly. And in this stillness, the silence, recognizing that you aren't the one that's doing the doing. There's something else alive that's moving through you, creating and generating everything that's happening. So we open, allowing ourselves to be a conduit, a vessel, a part of the stream of life that, when it's allowed to flow naturally, restores itself to perfect balance. That what moves through us is sensation, emotion, thought forms, the arising of essential qualities. It's all a form of consciousness, just as we are a form of consciousness. And we open to be lifted naturally into the highest vibration possible in this moment. Recognizing, feeling, experiencing that true nature is what ultimately creates us. So when we stop manipulating our inner world and our outer world, we open to the most beautiful, efficient, generous, intelligence that has within it the blueprint of the full possibility of who you can be. It's as if each of us are a beautiful jewel through which all distortions, all suffering can be transformed when we take our hands off. Open to the greater being of which we're a part. And offer ourselves for the well-being of all. As we sit in this way, just allow to come to your mind those loved ones, friends, who may be unable to find a connection with this deeper part of themselves and who are suffering. And just silently invite them to be held in the presence of our circle. As we open our hearts, allowing the essence of our being to begin to flow around the circle from one heart to the next, weaving a beautiful tapestry of light, of color, of sound. Strengthening, fortifying. Noticing that each thread that streams from the heart of each of us in this circle is necessary to the weaving of the wholeness that each of us strengthens the integrity of the fabric. And we allow these threads to weave through our loved ones, to make touch with their hearts, inviting them to remember, inviting them to feel into what is eternal and well and indestructible. And again, feeling the point in the head, the heart, and the belly. Sitting here in the fullness of your power. The heart alone can't support itself without the strength of the belly, without the clarity and the brilliance of the inner mind. So as all three are present, the heart is supported by what's above and what's below. And if your mind becomes distracted by the stories that flow through our life or by certain emotions that arise to the surface, just remember that everything that flows through us, that arises in us, is just a form of consciousness needing to move through you in order to come back into its natural state. It isn't the definition of you. It's not even a characteristic of you. It's consciousness moving through you. So we offer it to the collective consciousness. It's held by the beautiful fabric, the weaving of our collective being. As you feel into the center of this collective being, this we-ness in which we are experiencing ourselves, allow yourself to feel what is the particular quality the true nature is bringing to you tonight. What quality of essence are we being touched by? How is this collective presence awakening to itself in this moment? As you sense the quality of the energy in the space that you find yourself, how would you define this particular fragrance, particular texture? This is the presence of being. We're another person who had entered your room. How would you describe their essence? And what is the effect of this essence on you in this moment? We all long for intimate connection in our lives. As you close your eyes and feel the presence of being here with you and as you, let your heart open fully to the intimacy of union with the beloved. In the way that it's arising within us in this moment. The beloved is here with us, with each of us, and specifically with you. Present within the presence of the space. The beloved is present as Pachamama, our Earth Mother, the Divine Mother. Present as the fire of the sun, the illumination of the moon, the flowing of the streams, the movement of your breath, the sensations in your body, the tenderness in your heart. The connection of the head, the heart, and the body. Presence of the beloved manifests as an inner integrity. As support, as strength, as mystery. all here in this moment for you, as us. So as the surface of the world changes around us, we stay present to that, as well as to what's unchanging and eternal. Staying rooted, grounded, awake to what it is that is unchanging and eternal. This presence. And we rest in what's aware of the presence. Awareness itself. Everything that we need to know is within our experience. As we rest in awareness, we recognize that awareness never manipulating. It's present too. And it's present to the many faces of the beloved that arise in us, such as this inner integrity, openness, spaciousness, strength, tenderness, but it doesn't identify with any of them. It's what's prior to the arising of form and present to the movement of form. And then we inquire into this experience as we ask, who am I in this moment? Not as an idea or a concept, but as you are experiencing yourself in this moment. Who am I? Am I who and what I take myself to be on the outside? Or am I something else that's prior to that? the particular quality that is arising in consciousness this evening. As a physical way of integrating into our consciousness in an ongoing way. And the physical practice is allowing that touch of awareness to be in the head, the heart, and the belly simultaneously. To feel what arises when these three aspects of our being are co-present. What does it bring to me? It can allow me to live in the world and to be in the world but not of it, not identified with the story, but fully inhabiting the creation as myself, attending to this self for the well-being of all. Present fully to your own inner experience while being present to what's moving around you and through you. We don't need to get somewhere else or become someone else in order to be at rest as the beloved. We simply need to be here exactly as we are. Intimately connected with the presence that's manifesting as you and all around you. So as we come into these final moments together, for this gift of life, for the Divine Mother who exists as Pachamama, our Mother Earth, for all that she gives us, sustains us. We say thank you. The spirits of the land, our Apus, and the beautiful presences that flow through the waterways of her being, that carry the consciousness of each of us to all of us. We say thank you. To our ancestors who paved the pathways that have brought us to be together here today in this way. Whose consciousness is part of our consciousness. We say thank you. to our teachers, those here in form and those who've passed on, who have helped to point us in the direction of our true self. We say thank you. To the masters, the angelic presences, the beings in spirit that illuminate our becoming, that hold us in the light of the highest possibility of knowing ourselves as the divine, and unwaveringly hold the light that is the truth of our heart, in the one heart. We say thank you. To each other as we acknowledge and are grateful for the presence of this circle that allows us to know ourselves in this way. In the many circles that we belong to that interconnect, holding a vision of unity, of oneness, of truth, support us in continuing this journey. We say thank you. And as we turn towards ourselves, for the courage that it takes to walk this path at this particular time of transformation, for the willingness to hold the inner integrity of being that we've connected with this evening, to honor it, to stand in devotion to it, to steadfastly hold its presence in the world. We say thank you. Aho.